See, we have changed the definition of health now. We, in the sense, we have a group of scientists. We call ourselves the World Academy of Authentic Healing Sciences. We are 15 years old. And except me, I'm a villager. The 14 of them are who is who in the world of science. 4 of them are Nobel laureates, and they are very influential people. And we have had a decision to say we must change the definition of health as absence of mental, physical, psychological, spiritual, etc., etc., death. And this is the definition of Alma Alta is a business thing. Because I tell you what, absence of disease. Now for that we have created a business called checkup. Checkup. You are fine, no? You are fine, but you go to a checkup, you come out as a patient. I'll tell you why. It is very simple. Don't laugh. I'm serious about it. Very serious. Because today you have a TBS, total body scanner, which scans 500 parameters of your body. Okay. Now a little statistics, even a child knows that what are we doing in medicine for the human body? We say your normal blood pressure. What is normal? What is your normal blood pressure is not what my normal blood pressure. Mahatma Gandhi's blood pressure is 210 by 120 all the time. And Sushila Nair was not getting sleep. Mahatma Gandhi was getting good sleep. And the old man died of a complication of hypertension, brain death, heart disease, and this and that. Unfortunately, Godse helped him not to suffer from any one of that. So we must thank Godse for that. See, what is happening here is, I have a friend of mine who started NIMHANS as the first founder director, R.V. Verma. R.N. Verma is now 89, 91. This man has been seeing me for the last 45 years saying that his blood pressure is 90 by 40. I told him, why are you worried? Brian Bog's blood pressure is 60 by 40. And he is the strongest man in the world. So what is the problem? He said, see, the doctors always tell you something to boost the blood pressure. I said, இப்போ 92 years, he says, this man kept me alive for 45 years. I said, I didn't keep alive that man. So you will never die. You can't die. So your blood pressure is what is your blood pressure. So what is the textbook's blood pressure? It's called the average, statistical average. You check, our friend knows, all chartered accountants understand, actuaries understand that. You take 1,000 people, check their blood pressure, and no blood pressure can be checked correctly by a human being because the very physics of blood pressure is wrong. I won't go into that because it will confuse you. Come back to this. Now what has happened is, you check 1,000, plot it on a XY graph. Correct me if I'm mistaken. Then you have a Gaussian curve called the bell-shaped curve, right? Yes. Then you say mean, plus 2 standard deviation. Now that comes to whatever. Now I'll give you an example. What is the normal height of an Indian male? Gaussian curve, 5.4, 2 plus this side, that side. 5.2 plus 5.6, you're normal. Okay? Right? Amitabh Bachchan comes for a checkup. 6.2. Our treatment is cut his legs to make him 5.6. वो तो हम करते हैं ना. शुगर को क्या करते हैं, ब्लड प्रेशर को क्या करते हैं, वही करते हैं. Then next day Jaya Bachchan comes for a checkup. She is 4.6. Transplant that leg to her. Day in and day out, we doctors are doing this, trying to correct the statistical average, which we tell the common man as normal. So average becomes a normal. There will be what are called false positives. For every parameter, the false positive is 5%. Right, sir? Yes. Now calculate, I'm telling you. When you check 500 parameters, what is the false positive? 2,500. So 100 people go for a checkup, 2,500 patients come out. Isn't that a good business? So there was this professor of medicine in America, her name is Leon Eisenberg, and this girl was 52 years old and she was a very brilliant professor and she was worried about what she was teaching. One day she asked the brightest class boy who passed out, came to her, she said, who is a patient, she asked. She was expecting a very esoteric answer. The boy very simply said, a man or a woman who sees a doctor becomes a patient. She had a shock of her life. She said, then when does he become a man or a woman again? The student thought for a while and said, rarely ever, madam, if ever, full stop. This girl resigned her job as professor of medicine at the age of 52 because she said everything is wrong about medicine. And she sat the MCAT test. MCAT is CET, GET, whatever he has, and got a good grade, joined the medical school. That medical school, a student again, went through 4 years and came out and said, everything that we teach is wrong. Did you get it? You haven't got it because it's not publicized. That article is suppressed. This is very interesting. The first article which studied diet and heart started in 1954, ended in 1959, spent $110 million of the taxpayers' money in America, and the study said diet has nothing to do with heart disease. But by 1959, the myth of fat has gone so much that we have started getting fat-lowering drugs, cholestyramine. Have you seen that drug? You have to take 8 tablespoons of that in the morning. It is like sand, and most patients used to vomit it. And that was the beginning of the cholesterol too, the statin today. 25 rupees a tablet you give, take it, it kills you. 10% of people who start statin, their blood sugar starts going up. 10% of statin users become diabetics. So 11 million people take statins in India, and 1.1 million diabetics are added every year. Then we proclaim, on the other hand, by the diabetic drug people, he said India is the capital of diabetes in the world. False. The truth is, India is the best country to have diabetes because Americans are following Indian rice diet for diabetes. South Indian rice diet. Idlis in the morning, brown rice in the afternoon, and brown rice in the evening, and a little fruits here and there 6 times a day, 8:30, 10:30, 12:30, 3:30, 6:30, 9:30. Small feeds. And don't ever see wheat because wheat contains gluten. Gluten goes directly to the pancreas and maintains your diabetes. If you're a diabetic, wheat maintains your diabetes. Good to know, because we want diabetes to be maintained. This is called disease mongering. If everybody is not mad, what will this doctor do? He'll have to close his shop. See, this is called taking medicine to the marketplace. What did Hippocrates say? Cure rarely, comma, comfort mostly, semicolon, console always. And what is consoling? What is consoling? Psychotherapy. So, today you people are not MDs and PhDs. You are the topmost doctors in the world. Because you are doing exactly what Socrates said. Not Socrates, our friend, our father, Hippocrates said. But we are all hypocrites. He was Hippocrates. And we took an oath in his name and immediately became hypocrites. Today, medicine is the biggest industry in the world. Cholesterol lowering alone is $1.72 trillion business. One company which sells cholesterol drugs gets on an average $15 to $18 billion profit. A cardiac stent, which is like your spring of the ballpoint pen, costs $10 to manufacture. Sold for $2,000. And the budget is $500 doctor's hospitality. And a company gets a small profit of $1,490 per stent. And of course, you don't get it for $2,000. The hospital will have add so many things that salt, then seasoning, etc., etc. It becomes about 3-4 lakhs. Now, what does it do at the end of the day? Nothing, because the blocks you see are not disease at all. The disease that kills you is not seen in the angiogram. It's called vulnerable plaque, which can't be seen. These blocks are very good because even a child has a block. They did angiogram for young children in the American Army, aged between 18 and 22, who died in the Vietnam War and the Korean War. They had 4 vessel blocks, 3 vessel blocks. They were very healthy because God has given enough. That's called remodeling the heart. It's preconditioning it. These people with the block get a heart attack, they won't die. But if one gets a heart attack without a block, he will drop down dead. So, but we frighten that. We tell them, don't you know the sentence we use? You are sitting on a volcano. It might burst any minute. So the fellow says, can he go home and come back? He has talked to his wife. I don't know. On your way back home also you may die. So you better do it now. Do you know why? If the bakra goes out and talks to somebody, he may not come back. Now, chartered accountant will tell you a cost of a cardiac catheter lab and surgery will be about 30 to 40 crores today. They don't put their money. They put some black money as this thing and then borrow it from the bank. There are obliging bankers who give you money. Now, having got the money, now calculate the interest. Calculate the other thing. So, you require minimum 4 bakras a day to run the show. That is why Mark Twain wrote, I quote, for a man with a hammer in the hand and wanting to use it, everything here looks like a nail needing hammering. Absolutely true. That is why we have become a menace to society. It has to change. It can't change otherwise. It has to change from within. And that change can come only if we can bring up a generation, future generation, which is not as greedy as we are. It's the human greed that kills another human being. And if you don't have greed, and if you don't have, as somebody rightly said, I think Sappan said, you have to your ego, you have to sell it, is it? That's why the first thing I sold was, before I sold anything else, my ego in the market. So people say, oh, we must come to take you. I said, why do you come to take me? Do I get any special thing? And they say, we'll get the car. I said, look, you bring a car from 100 miles to pick me up. Then you take me to your place. Then you have to drop me back. That means 4 trips a day. Sir, that's our own car. Car is yours, but where is the oil from? You have to pay for it, no? Now what do I get if you come or if you don't come? I will take a taxi from here. My taxi company fellow is there. I'll come to your place, pay his taxi fare, and then I'll come back. So it saves at least 2 trips. They don't understand. People don't like it, sir. Chief guest, we have to bring him and all. I said, my driver brings me better than you. You know, I know him because I've been using that car for donkey's years and he is very safe. I can even sleep in that car. You don't bring a big car with a driver who is not known. I can't, every minute I have to be awake. People don't understand that. Because people want to be big, you know. People call me, you know, our naughty girl, Poonam was calling me a VIP. I said, I am not a VIP, I am a VVIP, very, very insignificant person. But if you look at yourself, you are a colony of 100 trillion human beings. They are called human cells. And they are all you. And each cell has been living on its own. It has got its mind, it can eat, it can sleep, it can excrete, it can do everything. But for economic reasons, after these chartered accountants came, they said, no, why everybody do everything? We'll come together. So about 100 trillion of them joined together and made a colony called the human body. And you think your human body is solid? There's nothing solid about you. You are like the television screen. You know, I'm talking here. It's like Amitabh Bachchan talking on the television or Hema Malini dancing. You put the television on, Hema Malini starts dancing. You put it off, Hema Malini is dead. But you go to the dining room and put it on, Hema Malini is born there. That's what exactly happens to the human cell. This was found out by a cell biologist called Bruce Lipton. Bruce Lipton. There's a beautiful book you must read called Biology of Belief. This is a fascinating book. This man was an atheist. He never believed in God. And he was a professor of anatomy in the Wisconsin Medical School. And he was a cell biologist. And he was studying not the dead cells like most anatomists study, which he calls as the tombstone of a cell. He was studying a live cell. And he was studying this live cell. And then he saw the cell is live, moves about, does everything. It excretes, it thinks, it can. You just put a drop of poison at one end of the petri dish, the cell runs away from the poison. You put a drop of some good food there, the cell runs into the food and eats it. Then he saw, on the day you are made, you are the one cell, you are called zygote, your weight is 0.1201 gram. But that one cell, when suddenly gets a connection, that's what's called the integral membrane protein with an antenna, like your television antenna, it gets a connection from universal consciousness. And the cell becomes live and it just starts doing everything. This man was looking at it. My God, he said, I thought science runs this world, but look at it, something beyond science runs this world. And he became a believer and he wrote this book and now goes around preaching. Like our friend Sapna, who left her ophthalmology and went around preaching, Bruce now goes around preaching like a preacher, people to have belief in God because it's God who runs the world. That's what's called the biology of belief. Somebody was talking about emotions. The two people, our chartered accountant and our psychiatrist. Emotions have been proved to be chemicals. There is this girl called Candace Pert, a brilliant PhD student who came to the palace. America's NIH is called the palace, where all kings sit. Like, you know, here ICMR is a palace. And like that, they're all big people. I call them Sarkari scientists. And there are Sarkari intellectuals here who give opinion on everything under the sun, from sun to the moon. Everything they give. So the Sarkari scientist, the head was what's called Saul Snyder. Snyder is a big name, a Lasker Award winner and a big name. So this girl started her postdoc with Snyder, who had some money, for finding out opiate receptors, which are known to be only in the brain, because we thought the brain, mind is only in the brain at that time. So he told her, find out if the opiate receptors are elsewhere. This girl took to it like fish taking to water. She worked very hard, day and night, day and night, day and night. But by the time the money was spent, there was nothing left. And still she has not got the receptor. So Saul called her, I don't want to waste my money on you. This receptor is over. You go and do something. I don't want you as a postdoc. But this girl said, I'm going to find it one day. Something inside her saying, I'm going to find it one day. So she told him, I don't want money, sir, but I'll continue in this lab. He said for a change, okay, continue in the lab. 6 months later, she found out an opiate receptor in the muscle, opiate receptor in the blood vessel. And she was so excited. And she had worked so hard, she deserved a holiday. She locked her laboratory and went away for a long holiday. Then something sensed in this fellow, something is amiss. So he called the laboratory technicians and said, what was this girl doing at night? They said, sir, she was working on the same thing and she has found something. Is it? Then lock was removed at night. And he got the ledger and got all her data. And before she came back from the holiday, he published the data in a paper. And he was so influential that he went to Swiss Academy and said, this is the thing I have found. And they said, okay, you will get the Nobel Prize. So Nobel Prize was declared in his name, but was not given because the date had not come. When this girl, Candace, came back, she was so fuming because he said, this fellow who destroyed my career now wants to steal my data. Very bold girl. So she went directly to Geneva and Zurich and then talked to all the members and said, this is my work, this is my original data, this fellow has photostated it, this is not his journal. And of course, Saul did not get his Nobel Prize. Candace lost her job. Candace lost her standing in community, thrown out. Candace wrote a book, Molecules of Emotion. Beautiful book. Molecules of Emotion. Please get that book and read it. Candace, C-A-N-D-A-C-E-P-E-R-T is her name, and read that book. And there's a beautiful sentence I'll tell you. Time will come when you get a headache, you don't look for a pill, instead sit in one place and elevate your consciousness to the level where your own brain produces enough opioids to kill your pain. Full stop. What a beautiful thing. And that is the future of medicine, my dear friends. But we have to take it out, de-link it from money. Unless you de-link medicine from money, this medicine will kill mankind. I don't know how many of you have read this beautiful article. If you have not, read it in the Google free. It's called Death by Medicine. There are 5 authors. The first author's name is Gary Null, G-A-R-Y-N-U-L-L. Please read that. You will get a shock of your life that we are the leaders of death in the world, followed by cancer low down and heart attack much lower down. On the top of the list, in a country where we think there are so much checks and balances, if it could happen, you horrified, you take the audit in India, my God, you will be shocked. That is why we went to the IOM, convinced them that the future of health definition should not have absence of disease, because there is nobody who has no disease. If I now scan all of you with the TBS, all of us will have not one cancer, 10 to 15 cancers. But they don't become cancers, they all die. When do they die? When you have a good mind and when you want to help someone, cancer cannot grow in you. But when you eat a lot, like a pig, and hate everyone, cancers grow like a tree. And that's what happens. And it's in the mind. Everything is in the mind. And where is the mind? Never mind. And the mind is everywhere. It's in my hand. And who is the mind? For every 9 cells of germs in my body, I have 1 cell of mind.